So we're on the way down from Glencoe and we've stopped off at Rannoch moor, and it's really sort of moody looking. We've stopped off at these little lochs on the top here because there was some light catching these hills in the background. Now, number one, I wanted to see if I could get a time lapse of it, and number two, I just wondered whether I could get an image. But it's really quite hard to photograph here because there's nothing here. It's really beautiful because of it, but it's so difficult to photograph because it's finding some sort of composition out of this. But if I've got anything, I'll pop it up now, see what you think.
Now, I'll be totally honest here, I was struggling with this place, to be honest, because there wasn't a great deal of foreground interest or a lot of interest in the whole scene, to be honest. I just found myself struggling quite a lot. But I was really pleased with the way this image turned out, managing to slow the shutter speed down enough to give the clouds a bit of movement above and to smooth the water out. Anyway, on to the next location.
Alright, pulling out here at the Falls of Falloch.
So because of the moody skies up at Glencoe this morning, we weren't really getting a lot because it was too cloudy, to be honest. There was some nice light over the tops of the hills there, so we've come further down the valley towards Loch Lomond then. We've come to a place called the Falls of Falloch, which I think you can just see in the background there. Really nice little spot. There's a nice fallen log just down in the bottom, and I think we're going to try and use that as foreground. But it looks really beautiful down here. Now, it's a lovely little location this, but I have to tell you, it does get really busy. Because it's so close to the road, you get people coming and going the whole time. But we've come across to the other side of the river here. There's a little river. We've come across to the other side and it's a bit less crowded. People tend to turn up, take a photograph and then disappear again. So coming across to this side of the river really makes sense. You get to work on your own. Now, because the front of this branch is so close to the front of the lens, I've had to focus stack the images. I've taken 3 or 4 images just in case. I don't know if I'm going to need them, but I've got them just in case. I'll have to check when I get back home on the computer. So hopefully these images have worked and I'll put them up for you now.
Now, this next image was totally different because I was really spoilt with the foreground we had here. It was really great. I loved the way the log curves around and it frames the waterfall in the background really nicely. Now, I did have to focus stack this image, so I used 3 images and blended them in Photoshop to give me a nice sharp image from front to back. Now the idea I had with this version of the image in portrait mode was to try and declutter the scene slightly. Where the branch forks down at the bottom, there was lots of little bits of twigs and branches and leaves, and close up on the wide angle version they're really prominent in the image, whereas this one you're further back from it so you don't quite notice it quite as much. But I think it still works as an image. Your eye is led through the crack in the rocks and then through the branch itself and into the waterfall at the background there.
Going too near. I'm not going too near.
So unfortunately I couldn't film anymore on this particular location, because when we got down into the bottom it was so busy with people, just couldn't get any more done. But this is one of the images I got to take when I was down there, and I really quite like it. I was trying to use this stump that was in the bottom here to lead the eye through the scene, and the green walls of the cavern on either side, and I think it works quite nicely. I maybe would have liked to see a bit more movement in the water, so maybe a slightly slower shutter speed to get a few more of the streaks in the water, but apart from that I was really quite pleased with this image. Now these final two images are two different versions of the same scene, and what I want to do, I want to see which ones you prefer. Now on the left I've opened up all the shadows and the water and everything's a lot brighter on the bottom of the image. However, on the right hand side I've left it a lot darker because I prefer the contrast between the light and the dark, and I think the eye's led quite nicely up the stream into the light that's hitting the cavern walls at the back. So I think of the two images this is by far my favourite, but I'd be really interested to hear your opinions, so please leave me any comments down below.
Well, I think we'll leave the video here for now. If you've liked the content, please like and subscribe. Join me on Facebook at Paul Thomson Photography. Join me on Instagram at Paul Thomson Photography, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.